What's up, lore masters? This video is going to be what I consider a primer to the Earth-Minbari War. Not an overview per se, but just a few highlights before we get into the main event proper. The video is more for the uninitiated than that of longtime fans. It is my opinion, at least as of the uploading of this video, that in order to really get a grasp on Babylon 5, you have to understand the Earth-Minbari War. The governments, factions, events, and destiny of the characters all seem to converge from this specific event. Earth Alliance, Minbari, Centauri, Narn, Vorlons, Shadows, and many others are impacted from everything that happens here. Indeed, the very station Babylon 5 is a direct result of this confrontation. And like any in-depth science fiction, I first had to explain what I felt were the main players in this conflict. That is to say, as I've mentioned, Earth Alliance, the Minbari, and the Centauri. Some have argued that the Narn played a role, and they aren't wrong. However, from what I've researched and seen, the role of the Narn is more impacting in other events that we'll be discussing. Additionally, I'll also be going over two other forces that I believe played a role towards the end of the Earth-Minbari War discussion, the Vorlons and the Shadows. That's more a conspiracy theory on my side though, and so isn't going to be a part of the main breakdown proper. I will also note that while we go through this entire series, it's important to know that the Minbari will both act human and not. Their actions will be very confusing and counterintuitive. While it might seem like bad writing, I'll say that it's simply that the Minbari are alien, that sometimes they will be relatable and sometimes not. Some of their actions during the war will make complete sense, and others will probably be counted as plot holes or bad writing, but I don't think they are, and we'll definitely get into that. I'll also say that while I didn't include it, I almost did an entire video on the Dilgar War. I feel like the entire reason, that we know of at least, for the humans acting as they did was because of their win against the Dilgar. While I don't like bringing in real-world events, it is akin to the United States foreign policy after assisting in winning 2 world wars. In a word, arrogant. Lastly, remember that what I describe is what we see in the war itself, that Babylon 5 is layered. So while I am doing a beat by beat, events may have other underlying events that are pushed that we're going to discuss in the future. Though I'll be honest, I'm saying this more for the Ultra fans who can't stand when I present an event as it is originally presented, because apparently fans forget that Babylon 5 again has multiple layers to it that you have to learn as you go. Let other people enjoy finding out as you do. With that out of the way, let me lastly do a brief analogy for the overview of the war so you know what you're getting into, so that you know how this war really went. Imagine, if you can, a nursing home. In this home, you had a dozen or so geriatrically inclined individuals. Recently, the police had been having issues with hoodlums, so when these hoodlums came around the front yard of the nursing home, the elderly people ran them off and began yelling at them. The police thanked those of the nursing home, even praising them for their courage. Though the cops did warn them that later that day they should probably stay inside as the president was coming by and they didn't want to see a scene with the geriatrics and the president. And so, later on, a military parade came through, the president and the military making a very large noise, making a huge ruckus. This made the people of the nursing home pretty mad, and so one of them got into a car and bull rushed the parade, killing the president. The military then went on to slaughter every geriatric, not only at the nursing home itself, but on planet Earth. Oh, the geriatrics tried to resist, but they were slaughtered before the might of the massive military machine. Ultimately, they would be pushed back to Sweden. Surrounded by drones, the Marines, and the mighty Air Force, the geriatrics expected to all be killed. One of the geriatrics would even attempt to attack a tank, ultimately being captured. And then, for no reason at all, the military would surrender. A complete surrender. I'll see you guys next time when we discuss the Earth-Minbari War.